Joining me now on set, our friend Miranda Khan, Newsmax TV contributor, and Javier Manjarres, the managing editor of the Shark Tank. The website again is
shark-tank.com.
Got it.
He's getting better there with it.
Javier on the
He's starting to roll those R's.
Working to roll the R's, and don't have to roll the R's for our friend on the left, Ravin-Havt, who is joining us via Skype. Ari, we thank you for joining us, and since you're far removed there in the nation's capital, we'll go to you first. In your mind, Ari, what is causing this uptick in illegals flooding into the country? Is it a failure to enforce the law?
Well, in my mind, look, we've had an immigration problem in this country for a long time. Everybody agrees. None of our policies have made sense for a long time, dating back to the Bush years. And I think, JD, you had some problems with what Bush was doing. So we haven't had a sensible immigration policy, a national consensus on immigration for a long time, and this is the end result of that.
Want to respond?
I disagree with Ari. I think we have had laws on the books for years. You know, they haven't been enforced. You know, people are complaining about immigration reform. I think there's a valid reason to have concern there. But if we have laws, we're a country of laws, why not respect those laws and enforce them? That's why they pass them in the first place.
Don't you think this comes down to money, though? That people don't want to spend the money to enforce border security?
Yeah, but we spend money on other stuff, entitlements that are frivolous spending in the government. Come on, the government spending. If you cut 1 penny of every dollar, how much money are you going to save? But what about all these TSA agents? I mean, where's the money coming from? The money comes from, they print the money. So again, we can use the money on the border. I'm one of those proponents for putting this National Guard on the border because, hey, it's a national issue.
But let's talk about the National Guard, because the National Guard doesn't have any legal authority to really do anything except be there to intimidate people.
Well, Presidente Obama in his pen and paper little thingy, he can sign executive order and put the military on the border. That's what the National Guard is. It's there to secure our national interests, and this is a national security issue on the border.
But so couldn't Rick Perry?
Governors can do that. We saw Ari Ravin-Havt in my home state of Arizona. Janet Napolitano sent the Guard to the border, but in a secondary role, basically changing oil in Jeeps and doing administrative work, doing everything but really what the Guard is meant to do. Miranda made mention of money, Ari, and this whole notion that close to $4 billion needs to be spent to accommodate the illegals coming across the border. Your old boss, Harry Reid, says we got to move forward with this. We're getting a different point of view from the House. Do you believe this supplemental appropriation will move through intact?
Oh, well, clearly not, because the House is going to add their say to it. So, and that's good. That's how this should go down. The House should have their say. The Senate should have their say. If the president wants money, he should have to go to Congress and get it. I think that money is necessary at this point. Customs and Border Patrol is clearly running out of money. There's clearly a problem, and we clearly need to deal with it.
The president was in Texas last week. He just didn't make it down to the border, but he did have some things to say about Republicans in opposition during his visit to Texas. Let's take a listen to what the president had to say.
These days in Washington, everybody's always concerned about everything falling victim to partisan politics. You know, if I sponsored a bill declaring apple pie American, it might fall victim to partisan politics.
It's interesting, Javier. The president decries partisan politics. Now, setting aside the fact that he mentioned, from a taste bud perspective, he likes coconut cream pie better than apple pie. We take his point. Why does he insert himself in the middle of these things, decrying the very partisanship he's a part of?
Because he has started this partisanship. This is a manufactured crisis. And his own doing. He controls what happens here. This is his crisis. This is another one of his crises. Let me rephrase. Another one of his crises. He benefits. The Democrat Party benefits with this immigration issue, this crisis on the border, because it's a wedge issue that I've been speaking about that makes people think other than Obamacare. They're focusing on this and other issues and not Obamacare, which is the main issue for them in 2014.
Ari, you mentioned correctly that I had some differences of opinion with President George W. Bush. But can you not see, or I'm interested in your perspective on what Javier had to say about this being a manufactured crisis under this administration, actually accelerating the problems as they exist?
Well, Javier said it's to the advantage of Democrats. It doesn't have to be. If Republicans want to take serious action on this, I actually think Republicans, not that I would want them to take advantage of it, but could make this a positive issue for them by actually stepping up and doing something, as opposed to just continuing to say, secure the border, secure the border, secure the border, but not actually saying what that means or what they would do.
Well, Representative Mike McCall addressed the issue of border security legislation. Let's take a listen to what he had to say.
Look, Brett, I was down there on the border, unlike the president. I saw these children. It's very heart-wrenching as a father to see that. Mothers with their babies. I also saw some 17-year-olds that I thought looked more like a threat to coming into the United States.
All right, so it seems like the GOP is willing to act unlike the picture Obama is trying to paint of them. Your thoughts?
I mean, I haven't seen the evidence of that. All I've heard is no, 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 no. And we haven't seen any action. We've had an immigration reform bill that had bipartisan agreement in the Senate that hasn't gone anywhere in the House.
Ari, sticking again to the Democrat talking points. The Republicans are a party of no. You saw Congressman McCollum, Ted Cruz. A lot of people have spoken out on national TV and said, look, we need to fix this problem. It's a crisis. Some say even it's a humanitarian crisis. So the Republicans are addressing this. They're not the party of no.
Okay, so how would you fix it? Saying secure the border, fine. I've been on a lot of borders. I've been on the United States-Mexico border. I've been on the United States-Canada border. I've been on the border between Syria and Israel. I've been on the border between North Korea and China. I've seen a lot of borders in my life. How would you secure the U.S.-Mexico border?
Are you asking me?
Yeah.
Well, since I'm a member of Congress, hey, look, how I will secure the border is first you enforce the laws that already exist. That's why they are there. You cut off the stem of illegal immigration. Look, many countries put their military on the border. I'm not saying for security reasons, yes, but we don't know who's coming across the border. Yeah, there's a ton of kids coming across the border, but we don't know who else is coming. We have MS-13 coming across. We have drug dealers. Why not secure the border? Because in that way, it'll secure the safety of those illegal immigrants that are already here.
While Ari challenged you to find a solution, Javier, it's interesting what is happening in Washington. A guy with whom I had my own disagreements, Luis Gutierrez, the congressman from Illinois, showed up on Face the Nation yesterday on CBS, taking time out to slam Republican Congressman Louis Gohmert. Listen to this.
Look, Louis Gohmert from Texas, who hasn't ever seen an immigrant that he hasn't thought was bringing disease to this country, and went on the House floor this week to compare the invasion of children to our incursion into Mexico to seek out Pancho Villa, to our reaching the beaches of Normandy. The border is secure. The fact is, the children are handing themselves over to the Border Patrol agents.
Do you agree, Ari, with Congressman Luis Gutierrez? Our border is secure. We'll set aside the vitriol aimed at Louis Gohmert. The nugget there is he's saying the border is secure. Do you agree with that?
Well, these children are handing themselves over to Border Patrol. That is what's happening. Look, I think when you have a border of that size going through that terrain, are we ever going to have a 100% leak-proof border there? No. I mean, during the Cold War, the border between West Berlin and East Berlin wasn't 100% leak-proof. You're never going to have a 100% secure border. The goal is to get it as good as possible, but to do so in a reasonable manner.
Interesting you use the historical parallel of East and West Berlin. The wall there was to keep people restricted in East Berlin. The communists wanted that. Our notion is to have a border fence to secure our border, to keep people who are unauthorized out.
And remember, both sides had their military on that border, just like they do in North Korea.
And it still wasn't perfect.
And nothing's perfect. I mean, there's always going to be issues with immigration reform. There's always going to be issues. So, look, at the end of the day, I think there could be a compromise here. But at the end of the day, at what cost? National security? We don't know who's coming over the border. And that should be everyone's concern, not just Republicans.
Let's also, though, address, you mentioned, Javier, that this is a humanitarian crisis, or some are calling it that. Let's talk about the 50,000 children that have been coming across the border from Central America and Mexico. Ari, what are your thoughts? How do we deal with those children? It's estimated that 90,000 illegal immigrants are going to be crossing our border from now until the fall. What do you recommend that we do?
Only about 30 seconds, Ari.
Well, that's a short.
Sorry about that.
It's a humanitarian issue. I think you have children who, children are the most sympathetic cases, and I think as America we should live up to our ideals and treat these children with respect and fairly.
And we'll have to leave it there. Ravin-Havt joining us from Washington, D.C. Javier Manjarres right here in studio, rolling the R's. We're going to roll along with more here on America's Forum. Please stay tuned.